morning.
Good morning.
Tuesday morning, very early Tuesday morning. Welcome to Tennessee Valley this morning. I'm your host, Michelle Baker, with my lovely, lovely co-host who always looks better than I do. I'm telling you, we've been telling her how good she looks this morning. Kim, welcome.
Well,
Good
thank
morning.
you very much. I
Thank
keep
you.
telling them I'll give them 30 minutes to hush. No, I know.
Well, it is the 29th of October, 2 days before Halloween, and I am always so happy to see the month of October end.
Just go.
Just go. It is, I'm not a very superstitious person.
Okay.
I'm really not.
I'm not either.
But the month of October is my curse month.
Okay.
It really is. Everything strange or everything bad that happens to me or my family happens in October.
Oh.
So, like 10 years ago, we had a really bad car accident. My daughter and my niece and myself, we had a really bad car accident. 2 years ago this October, my husband had back surgery. A year ago this October, he had his heart attack. So, I'm anxiously awaiting
2 days.
the end of October. I told my husband earlier this month, I said, I'm going to wrap you in bubble wrap
That's right.
and keep you in the house. And he goes, the house would burn down. And I'm like, I know you're right. So we've been very fortunate. The only bad thing that has happened to me this month is really minute in the scale of things, but somebody stole my briefcase out of my car.
Oh. That's just not fun. But there's a lot of stuff in that. That's kind of like stealing your purse.
Exactly.
It's a secondary purse.
I know.
I
It was my work world. And I didn't realize it was gone until 7:30 on a Monday morning.
Oh, see, now, are you sure that it was actually stolen? Joe, somebody steals his keys and his wallet every day. Every day. They bring it back, and
We
they don't
need to
take
do
anything
some
out.
testing on Joe.
They don't take anything out of it, but somebody has stolen it, and it's a big thing.
I had my car parked in a parking lot in Athens, where I live, and there was some loose change and a few dollar bills, and I noticed that was gone on Sunday afternoon, and it was like, okay, so they needed the change more than I did. That's fine. Go ahead and, that's fine. And I didn't realize they had taken that till the next morning. So my planner was in there. All of my work stuff was in there. So my boss asked me on Monday morning when I got there, what do we have planned this week? And I went, I have no clue. I don't know. I have no idea. So that was the only bad thing so far this month that has happened.
Yeah, well, that's kind of icky though. But you can recoup that. That's the worst thing. We're okay.
Yeah, that is the worst thing.
But you did say something about your dishwasher. Now that would have been a deal. That would have been a big deal.
I was very happy because my dishwasher went out earlier this month. I was so excited because I found a really good deal on one on Sunday. I had gone 2 weeks without one. I wanted to kind of see how long the family could deal without one, and do we really have to have it? Well, I broke on Sunday and said, forget it, we're going to go get a new one. So we go to Lowe's, we find a really good deal. I'm really excited about the new dishwasher. We go home, my husband, being the handyman that he is, starts to pull the old one out, and it starts working.
He has that touch.
And I'm like, woohoo! So the new dishwasher goes back to Lowe's.
That's right, goes back to Lowe's, and
I saved several $100.
That's right.
So I was a very happy woman on Sunday afternoon.
I'm sure you were. That's amazing, though. I'm going to have him come touch all my appliances.
I know.
Just come touch
them, rub them, love on them. It was really an exciting day. So, of course, the people at Lowe's were like,
right.
Why are you back? You have to put it back in stock and all that good stuff.
Yep. Sorry.
So I know. So it's really. So I'm really glad October's almost over.
It is. But you had a great weekend.
I did have a good weekend. Got a new dishwasher. Did get to see my Vols lose to Alabama.
I think we all expected
that. We did.
We knew it was coming.
We did. But of course, then South Carolina beats Missouri. And we play Missouri next weekend.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see kind of what happens with that. I don't know. I do like Butch Jones. I think he's doing a great job with our volunteers.
I do too. I do. I think that, good things are to come.
I think so too.
Yeah.
How are
struggling a bit.
How are the Dolphins?
I don't even want to talk about it. it was a bad day on Sunday afternoon. It started off so promising, and again, we were playing the Patriots.
Right.
So we had no faith. I had no faith. I can't say that about Joe. He always does, but I had no faith. I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be a really bad. I cooked really good food to, try to make it okay. And we're winning. I mean, the first quarter and the first half, I think we're up like 17-3 in the first half, and then
crash and burn.
Bad. I mean,
really
just bad. I mean, bad enough to where you got to fear the Brady. You just got to fear the Brady and know that it's there. And Joe gets mad. He's like, he's so overrated. And I was like, I'd have taken him in a minute. I wish he was overrated in Miami. I wish he'd have been overrated there for the last 10 years.
Well,
but
I have to ask, is watching a football game with Joe just like an experience? Is he one of these that's throwing stuff at the television and screaming and armchair coaching? And I am too, so I can't say anything.
He's so much better than he used to be, and and a lot of times we're in public because since the Houston Oilers became the Titans, they took a lot of the Dolphins off. The Dolphins used to be on television a lot, and so they're hardly ever on anymore. The only reason they were on was because it was the Patriots, I guess. But anyway, so we have to be in public, and when we go watch, and oh my gosh, there have been many tantrums that he's pitched, and but it is better. It is better. But my youngest one was brought up with him around that all the time, and so now he can, between the two of them, they can break things and spit and throw tantrums.
Yeah, my son and I are the same way.
Okay.
We have that love, and we scream and we yell and we throw things, and before each game we go, is there anything hard around here that we're going to kill the television with? And my husband just lays back and he's like, It's like Saturday, we were like, what are you doing? Come on, guys, do something. And Rob's going, you can't be telling me you weren't expecting this. Come on. So I don't know. I guess it is fun watching football with Joe.
It is. It's especially good when things are good. Like this season, we won the first 3 games. We were undefeated. And it's a miracle to watch when he's happy like that. We haven't seen that in many years, and so it's wonderful. But when it goes bad,
it's really bad.
Yeah, it just goes bad. It just goes bad, and everybody the chihuahuas kind of all start shaking and moving away. So
yeah, my dogs just kind of go, we'll go to the bedroom, Mom. We'll see you a little bit later. So I understand. Well, we've got some really great guests with us today. We have Cindy Lowry, who I love and adore, and she was part of an event for Alzheimer's. She is with the Alzheimer's Association, and she was part of an event with Mark Grissom on Whoop Radio. So they are coming on to talk about this radiothon that they did and kind of maybe some things for next year. So it was, from what I understand, it was really a great fundraiser.
There was a lot of attention on Facebook to it that I saw that it was going on, and actually there was a picture that was posted of Mark Grissom after it was all over with his just laid out on the sidewalk there at the Village Green, and so there was a lot of chatter going on about it.
And that's good,
because that is excellent.
We need more awareness about the disease, and so I'm really glad to have them here with us today. And then we don't have any other guests, but working in senior care as well, I thought it would be a good time, and you having worked in senior care, I thought it would be a good time for us just to kind of sit and chat and talk about some different things that children of senior citizens, of senior parents, kind of need to look for when trying to decide, is mom or dad doing okay at home?
Right.
We're going into the holidays. A lot of families will be going to visit their parents or coming into town to visit, and I think it's really a good time just to think about, what do I need to look for with mom or dad or aunts or grandparents? What do we need to look at? Is mom or dad doing okay?
Right.
So,
and it's that time of year. This is a lot of family get-togethers between Thanksgiving, and sometimes you're not as aware because maybe it's just phone calls or in emails or whatever back and forth. But that actual spent time in the family's home, or they come to your home.
Yeah.
That it's the time that we see a lot of or hear a lot of get a phone call that says, "Oh dear," you
Yeah.
know, "Oh dear,
Yeah.
I didn't realize
Well,
that," you
and-
know, and it
and-
just it seems you wake up one day and there you are.
Exactly. Well, and the same thing happened to me, you know,
Right.
with my dad, you know, living in Florida, and I know your mom lives in
Right.
Florida. You know, you'd call and talk to him, and how are you doing, Dad? Oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'd go down there and things were not so great,
Right,
you
right.
know, and so, you know, it's really good, I think, just to kind of get an idea, and you know, guilt goes with it and everything, so it's just kind of a good thing to think about. So I thought we'd just kind of sit and have a discussion about that.
We'll do it.
So, all right, well, let's take a quick break, and then let's get Cindy Lowry and Mark Grissom on here and see how interesting that's going to be. So we'll be back in just
That's
a minute.
right.
Town Americana, where trucks are big and bold, and a handshake is firm, and your word is gold. Don Ledford Chevy Buick GMC in Athens is a $2,000 drive. Maybe you're coming from here or here, doesn't matter. Buying a truck from Don Ledford in Athens will save you at least $2,000 bucks. Don Ledford Chevy Buick GMC in Athens, a $2,000 drive worth making.
I'll take that drive every time.
At Crawford Pharmacy, we offer custom compounding. Our pharmacists are known for their attention to detail and unique expertise. So visit us at 2260 Chambliss Avenue, Cleveland, Tennessee. For personal assistance, walk right in or come up to our convenient drive-thru. Crawford Pharmacy, serving our community one person at a time.
Kyle Motors, 802 20th Street Southeast in Cleveland, is the place to find quality pre-owned cars and trucks. Kyle offers on-the-spot financing on all vehicles on the lot. Each pre-owned vehicle goes through a complete inspection to make sure each car and truck meets the Kyle Motors standard. Warranty and extended warranties available on all vehicles. Kyle Motors will sell you a car or truck that you will be proud to drive for many years to come. See Tony, Bill, Dale, James, or David and let them put you in your next quality pre-owned vehicle. Kyle Motors, 802 20th Street Southeast. Phone 790-7100.
Are you having trouble filing for disability?
Seems no one is concerned about your pain, the waiting, the denials.
While some representatives will meet with you in court, we will meet with you now to discuss your plan. We'll review with you the same file that the judges will see. Call us now, Social Security Law Center at Logan Thompson.
You're entitled to better.
This segment of Tennessee Valley This Morning is brought to you by Crown Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram, located at 511 South Lee Highway in Cleveland and 2120 Chapman Road, Chattanooga. For your next new or previously owned vehicle, make it Crown Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram, the better way to buy.
Look at you.
Yeah, you can look at me.
All right.
Welcome back to Tennessee Valley this morning. We are pleased to have with us Mark Grissom with Grissom Funeral Home and Cindy Lowry with the Alzheimer's Association. Welcome, you guys. Thanks for coming in so early this morning.
Thank you.
Of course, compared to what you guys did, just over the weekend or last week, getting up this early is not
That's a piece of cake.
it's not a big deal, is it?
We're going to start just staying up a couple of days a week just to stay in practice.
Just to stay in practice. Well, tell us about this radiothon. I was excited to hear about this.
Well, before we get started, what's the name of this show we're on right
This
now?
is Tennessee Valley This Morning.
Okay, well, I thought it was the Hoda and Kathy Lee show earlier. Only thing y'all are missing is a glass of wine sitting here with you. Oh, I lost my briefcase. Oh, Joe and I watched football. Oh, it was... I'm sitting over here cracking up at y'all.
See?
By the way,
True entertainment value.
We could do this professional.
We really could. We could just, okay, step back, Hoda and
That's
Kathy
right,
Lee.
Joe,
We are
scoot
on
over.
our way.
I'm telling you, you all are great. Yeah. Maybe you've been drinking the wine already. I don't know.
I know.
A little early.
It's a
little early.
but, hey, there's
Well, let me tell you how this Whoop Marathon kind of got started. And I wanted Cindy here today. She can fill in the gaps for me, and what I miss, jump in and tell. But was it a couple months ago, I guess, I sit there during the day like a lot of other people and watch Senator Ted Cruz in Washington go on and on and on for 21 and some hours. And just a bunch of nonsense. I'm sorry, it was politics and I won't go there. But something inside of me thought, hey, that would be fun to do on Whoop Radio. Most everybody knows I own Grissom Funeral Home, but Thursday and Friday morning I get to go over for a couple hours on Whoop and do a morning show and have a lot of fun. Yeah. So my mind got to clicking and going, and I thought, well, let's beat his record. Let's at least go 24 hours straight on the radio. And not only let's go 24 hours straight, but let's do it for a great cause. 3 years ago, next month, my mom passed away of Alzheimer's disease. And for about 5 years before her death, we really got more acquainted with what Alzheimer's is all about.
And that's not a fun acquaintance to make. It's a horrible thing.
Kim knows exactly what I'm talking about. To watch your family member, your parent go through something like this, and what it means to them, what it means to the caregivers and the whole family. So there's no question that Alzheimer's is very near and dear to my heart. And the first person I called was Cindy. I said, Cindy, I got an idea here, and this. I didn't really say, can I do this? I said, I'm going to do this. And, so we put a date on it, and last Thursday morning, we started at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we went through straight 26 and a half hours, no breaks. The only break we took was to play a song. We had people bring in food. We had politicians there, business people. JoJo Collins from the Collins Brothers Band came and put a concert on that night. It was just...
Along with Mark.
Yeah,
Mark actually sang in on a couple of songs.
I certainly didn't miss my calling in life. But it was a great time. We raised, how much was it?
We're at $15,725.
Wow, good
Yes.
job.
That
Excellent.
is great.
All right, Mark.
So anyhow, I can't say thanks enough to everybody, and it's hard to mention them all. But you know, people, for an incredible cause like this, people will step up, and it was amazing. People called in from St. Louis, Missouri, from
Texas.
Huntsville, Alabama, from Texas,
Nashville,
all over, because they can get this on the internet, whoopfm.com, and they were watching, and so that was really neat. And then what else was neat was to be sitting there in the studio and look through the window out in the lobby and just see person after person after person just walk in and start handing money.
Wow.
Debbie Williams was out there helping us that day, and that was really just, when you see that, it touches your heart and it keeps you going. And I'll say this and let Cindy talk, but the morning that the marathon started, I had already packed my headphones, toothbrush, everything I thought I'd need for the next 26 hours, because once I got there, I wasn't leaving. And before I walked out of the door that morning, I reached over and I picked up a picture of my mom. And I just kind of looked at it and I said, this is for you today. And I kept that picture right by my side the entire time of the marathon, and that's what kept me going.
Wow.
Well, you go ahead.
That is amazing.
Well, and through all of the craziness, no matter who was on the phone, who was in the studio, how crazy it got, and I think everybody got a little, little crazy in the early morning hours of the morning. But throughout it all, Mark would continually say, "This isn't about me. This isn't about Whoop FM. This is about my mom." And we had people who came in the studio. A couple of her caregivers came in and told stories, about caring for her. We had several family members that came in and told their personal story. There were some very compelling, blocks of time where people were coming in to talk about what had happened in their family. One of the things that meant a lot to me, Mark told me that when he first announced this, he immediately got a couple of calls from people making donations, before we ever went on the air.
Right.
And they were from people who knew about Alzheimer's disease. And I said, that's the thing about this disease. When someone knows about it, you do not have to convince them to support the cause. No. They get it. There are people who don't understand a lot about it, and when they hear about it, they will get on board and support either the walk or the association or the marathon. But the ones who know about it, you don't have to convince them.
No.
We made the Friday morning, we were in that final hour, and when this first started, Mark said, we'll raise some money. We might raise $5,000. And I remember looking at him and saying, Mark, you're going to raise more than that. And Mark, we had a business sponsor every hour that Mark lined up, so they paid $100 to sponsor that hour. Then we got some corporate donations and all the individual donations. And so the night before, really, 12 hours before we went on air, or less than 12 hours before we went on air, we were kind of saying, what's the goal going to be? Because we're past 5 with what had come in. And so we ended up making the goal 15. So Friday morning, that last hour and a half, we were kind of in crunch time to get to that final goal.
Right.
And the mayor and his wife were in the studio, and Dr. J was in the studio. Christy Griffith from Bank of America came in.
Bank of Cleveland.
Bank of Cleveland, sorry.
That's okay. They're
sorry, Christy.
They're nationwide.
It's in America.
Bank of Cleveland.
And
But they were all in the studio, and a couple of them were even calling or texting friends to say, we're this far away from the goal.
Yeah.
And the phone started ringing, and the pledges started coming in, and people were coming in the door. This is like 7:30 in the morning.
Right.
And we hit that 15,000 and zoomed right by it. So,
that is incredible, guys.
Yeah, it was just a great experience.
It really did go incredible, and it was our first time, unrehearsed. We put it together the best we could, and I'm going to say this, Cindy, I've known of her, and I've met her and talked with her other times at the Alzheimer's walk and whatever, but she's incredible. And she has an awesome passion for Alzheimer's and Alzheimer's awareness, and it's really funny how it worked, because we would hit the wall at different times, and by that I mean, where you just are like,
right.
Oh gosh.
That would be about midnight for me, probably.
Well, it's like if I was doing good and going, Cindy'd say, I just don't know, maybe I need to get just a couple hours, and then I'd hit the wall, and Cindy's over there combing her hair and smiling and all tearing. She's like, well, I'm feeling better now. I'm ready to go. So,
there was a point that I hit the wall, and the wall fell on me.
I think, in all seriousness, it wasn't about us. It wasn't about Whoop. It wasn't about anybody else. It was about Alzheimer's and the memory of my mom, and in memory and to honor other people who came in and talked about their family members. That was the best part of the entire event, was having other family members come in and talk about their loved ones who are still living with Alzheimer's or who have passed away, and get to share their memories. And that's what the entire event was about.
And tell people kind of what this money will go for. I'm not sure that everybody always understands what the Alzheimer's Association does with these funds.
Well, the Alzheimer's Association has a 3-part mission. The first mission is to provide care and support to families who are dealing with Alzheimer's disease. And all of our services are free. So sometimes it's just an information packet. Sometimes it's that initial call where someone says, I just got diagnosed, or we had a call from a woman whose 51-year-old son just got diagnosed. So sometimes it's just mailing them an initial packet. Sometimes it's they're ready to attend a support group. A lot of times it's information. They're at a point where the disease, the course of the disease has changed, and they've got to find additional help. Or even start looking for care facilities. You mentioned Christmas Day. We have or you mentioned the holidays and what families need to look for. We have a 24/7 helpline, and I'm going to go ahead and give the number. It's 1-800-272-3900. 24/7. Anyone can call in, and Christmas Day is one of our busiest days because people come in from out of town. They haven't seen mom and dad since the summer or maybe since the Christmas before.
Right.
And all of a sudden they get to town and whoa, we need some help. And they can pick up the phone at noon on Christmas Day and call us. And someone's there to answer the phone, answer questions, give them help. So care and support to families is a big thing. We also do a lot of education programs to kind of talk to people about maintaining their brain health. And then, of course, the third thing we do, and you know, care and support is very important, but equally important is we want to find a cure. Yes. So we're raising money for research dollars. It's just clear that the government doesn't have enough dollars to put into this disease. If you look at the dollars that are put into research, Alzheimer's gets a drop in the bucket compared to a lot of other diseases. And death rates from cancer, stroke, HIV, AIDS, heart disease are all on the decline, which shows that research and finding treatments and cures works.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but deaths from Alzheimer's disease over the last decade are up 66%.
And diagnosis even.
Yes.
Yes, diagnosis has just risen so much too.
Absolutely. So what we're trying to do is put money into research, and we have a new strategic plan that begins in June of 2014, and our research efforts are actually doubling.
Good.
So that's the main thing. But all of our services here at the local level are free. So call that 800 number. It is answered in our office during business hours, and then nights and weekends it's answered by trained clinicians who can answer questions. So, but call us if you want to remain anonymous. We can answer questions over the phone. If you can provide us your name and address, we'll be glad to mail you a packet. Amy French, who is in our office, does care consultations with families all the time. So there are just different levels of support that we can provide.
And I think finding those resources, whether it be, whatever it is, you need to educate yourself on what resources are out there.
Exactly.
Because until we do find a cure, the support is going to be so important.
Well, and one of the things about this radiothon that was so exciting to me, and Mark knows there were a couple times I got a little cranked up. But in addition,
no, not Cindy.
In addition to the funding, the exciting thing was having people call in who didn't know about us.
Yeah.
And who were dealing with Alzheimer's disease. And so just the awareness that this helped to create, here in Cleveland and Bradley County and all over for people that were listening from out of the county or out of state, just as important as the money was the increased awareness about not only about the disease, but also about the Alzheimer's Association.
Right, and just for support, because Alzheimer's is one of those diseases that it's not, it does become medical in a sense, but it is just so much about the changing in the person, those elements that sometimes with medical, with diabetes or with cancer, and those are medical, they're physical, there's pain.
Right.
Where Alzheimer's, you're losing sight of who you even knew.
Right.
And it's just a whole different area and a different area of support that people need. The medical community, yes, they need all the support in the world. I'm not taking away from that, but that mental and that emotional area of Alzheimer's is one that definitely needs a support program behind it.
Well, and just to kind of remove some of the stigma from it, the generation, our parents' generation, they were a generation that took care of themselves. They weren't used to asking for help.
Right.
They weren't used to taking what they considered private family issues outside of the family.
Right.
So we have so many situations where one person has Alzheimer's and the spouse is an expert at covering it up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, they can tell stories when just like Michelle said, call home, how's dad? Oh, fine. You know, you have the spouse really covering up, saying everything's great because they're not used to asking for help.
Exactly. I don't know how many times working in a memory care community, when families come to me, they'll look at me and go, I didn't know how bad mom was till dad passed.
Yes,
I had
exactly.
no clue
Exactly.
what
We hear
was
that all the
going
time.
on. Yeah,
Right.
it's incredible.
And we want people to know this is a disease of the brain. This is not a mental illness.
Right.
There should be no, you know, someone said it during the radiothon. If you get diagnosed with cancer, no one has an issue saying I have cancer or I have diabetes or I had a stroke or I had a heart attack. But to say I have Alzheimer's disease, a lot of people think that because it's a disease of the brain, a lot of people think, oh, it's a mental illness. It's not a mental illness. It is a physical disease of the brain.
Yeah.
I want to say something here now. I know how Joe Palo feels with women sitting around. You can't talk. You can't get a word in. I got two things. Well, number one.
We know we should keep him quiet.
Joe,
That's why we're
Joe
not very
Palo,
much.
I
We don't
feel
know what
sorry
he's going
for
to
you.
say. We're worried. We're nervous.
Number one is, I look really good on TV. With the bald head and the suit.
I like that.
Second of all, I haven't never been in any kind of media situation this long, whether it's TV or Whoop, without Brett Whitehead have called me. I'm a little, but I want to tell you a story about Brett. In all seriousness,
Yeah.
Kim knows who I'm talking. Cindy knows. You know Brett.
I
Everybody
don't know
knows.
that
Brett.
I probably.
Brett came in the morning we started, and his family gave a donation to sponsor an hour. And Brett, he had to go. He said, I've got to go to school. You know, he works over there in the athletic department. So Brett leaves. He goes to Bradley High School. It wasn't, an hour and a half. Brett calls back in. He had went around to the teachers with an envelope and collected $47 to bring back to me and donate, you know. And it was things like that with Brett. And just when you think, man, I'm tired, this has been going on, somebody else would call in or somebody else would come in, and their story or their donation or just their kind words was enough to keep you going a little bit longer.
We had one woman who rode 2 buses to get there.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
To make her donation, and you know, just stayed for a minute, and then she said, I've got to go, I've got to catch my bus back home.
Wow.
So yeah, we just had donations from $3 up to $2,000.
That is awesome.
I mean, and that's what we were trying to make sure people understood, was that it doesn't matter how much. If you can give a couple of dollars, it all adds together.
It does.
And we got to that $15,725, you know, a few dollars at a time.
A few dollars at a time.
So,
Gonna do it next year?
I was thinking I look really good on TV.
I want you to
I'm kidding. We're doing it next year.
Good.
And,
I'm going to let him answer that.
I'm excited about. We made the decision somewhere during the marathon, and I looked over at Cindy while we were live, and I said, "We're doing this again next year."
Good.
And it'll be exciting, just even more exciting. We've got more time to plan. I won't throw. I just give her a month to plan for this. But
Well,
here's
I'm
what happened.
excited.
And I got a call that Mark wanted to do this radiothon, and he said, "Can we meet next week for lunch and we'll talk about it?" I said, "Sure." And that was on a Thursday. And I get to work the next morning, and I get an email from a friend of mine that says, "I hear you're going to be on Whoop Radio next week." And I said,
Oh,
"What?"
wow.
I said, "What? Where did you hear that?" And he goes, "I heard it on the radio driving in this morning." And I was like, "Really?
How did that happen?
And honestly, then the next week, Mark had it planned.
That is
I
awesome.
mean,
That is awesome.
But yeah, and for anyone who's watching this morning and they still want to contribute to it, I have to do this.
Oh, you do.
If you still want to contribute to the Whoop Radiothon, mail your check to our office. It's the Alzheimer's Association, 7625 Hamilton Park Drive, Suite 22, Chattanooga 37421, and put on there that it's for the Whoop Radiothon, and we will make sure to count it.
All right. right. Well,
Kim?
guys, we got to take a break.
I want Kim in there next year too.
You want Kim in there next year?
Well,
Yeah,
just
I'll
to
be there.
Come by and tell
All
your
right.
and
Oh,
share
we'll be
your
there.
story
Absolutely,
with everybody.
absolutely.
Well, Michelle
your
needs to come too.
I know
Michelle-
Michelle's father. It touched her life. It touches
Okay.
It's touched
every
all
one.
of
I
us.
mean,
Yeah.
it's touched
It's
us
touched
all.
all of us.
Well,
It
Michelle
has.
doesn't have a calendar anymore. They
I
stole
know.
her
I
briefcase.
know. They
and
stole my
she- we'll have to
briefcase.
do it.
We'll get her a
call
new one
you.
for 2014.
Thank
I
you
did
for
like
having
that.
us.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for
Thank you
coming,
very
guys.
much.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it a whole lot. All right, we're going to take a quick break and then come back, and I think Kim and I are going to have another discussion.
We're going to discuss things.
We're going
very
to
important
discuss
things.
Yes, like Hoda and Kathy Lee.
That's right. There you go.
We'll see you in a minute.
Town Americana, where trucks are big and bold, and a handshake is firm, and your word is gold. Don Ledford Chevy Buick GMC in Athens is a $2,000 drive. Maybe you're coming from here or here, doesn't matter. Buying a truck from Don Ledford in Athens will save you at least $2,000 bucks. Don Ledford Chevy Buick GMC in Athens, a $2,000 drive worth making.
I'll take that drive every time.
At Crawford Pharmacy, we offer custom compounding. Our pharmacists are known for their attention to detail and unique expertise. So visit us at 2260 Chambliss Avenue, Cleveland, Tennessee. For personal assistance, walk right in or come up to our convenient drive-thru. Crawford Pharmacy, serving our community one person at a time.
Kyle Motors, 802 20th Street Southeast in Cleveland, is the place to find quality pre-owned cars and trucks. Kyle offers on-the-spot financing on all vehicles on the lot. Each pre-owned vehicle goes through a complete inspection to make sure each car and truck meets the Kyle Motors standard. Warranty and extended warranties available on all vehicles. Kyle Motors will sell you a car or truck that you will be proud to drive for many years to come. See Tony, Bill, Dale, James, or David and let them put you in your next quality pre-owned vehicle. Kyle Motors, 802 20th Street Southeast. Phone 790-7100.
Are you having trouble filing for disability?
Seems no one is concerned about your pain, the waiting, the denials.
While some representatives will meet with you in court, we will meet with you now to discuss your plan. We'll review with you the same file that the judges will see. Call us now. Social Security Law Center at Logan Thompson.
You're entitled to better.
This segment of Tennessee Valley This Morning is brought to you by Crown Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram, located at 511 South Lee Highway in Cleveland and 2120 Chapman Road, Chattanooga. For your next new or previously owned vehicle, make it Crown Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram, the better way to buy.
Welcome back to Tennessee Valley This Morning. I'll tell you that Mark Grissom is something else.
I'm telling you. I mean, but you know, if anybody would have, I can see Mark coming up with that on his own. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember the time with his mom and that when he was going back and forth to Florida. And Brett, you know, Whitehead, he was very invested in Mark. And he lost his mom a bit after because my dad will be gone, I think, in December of this year for 4 years.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we were kind of going through a lot of the struggle together to where Dad's was not a true Alzheimer's diagnosis. His was called primary progressive aphasia. And then there's a lot of discussion out there if they're related, you know, whatever. We just do know that it was a physical takeover of his ability to communicate and on those things. And then in the later part of that, at first it was just that. It didn't affect his cognitive abilities. That later on it became that that the person started to go, you know.
Yeah, and I don't know that a lot of people understand too, you know, they think, what's the difference, Alzheimer's or dementia? They don't understand, you know, that dementia is memory loss. Alzheimer's is a kind of dementia, and there are so many different kinds, you know, and the Alzheimer's Association, you know, they can give you support and education no matter what kind of memory loss. I mean, there's just so many different types out there. You know, and working in memory care, I'm starting to see so many younger and younger people coming up with the disease. And, you know, I had a gentleman not long ago that had a 17-year-old daughter, you know, and so this is really affecting everybody, you know, so I'm so glad to see Mark did that. That's a
I know,
great
and how
idea.
fun. I mean, how fun. You know that it just had to be a hoot. You
Oh,
just
my
know that
word.
it had to
I
be
hate
a
I
hoot.
missed
I did
it.
too. I did too. And I mean, especially during the hours that the bakery was open right there.
There you go. I'm all about that bakery.
Those little tea cookies, you know, those little tea cookies. And you can eat a dozen of them.
And not
with
even
no
realize.
problem. I know, and not even, I mean, you could just eat, you know, if you eat just a regular cookie, it's like, oh gosh, I can only eat one cookie. But those little ones,
just
I can
keep
just
popping
pop at them. I know, and it's just like, I can't make it home.
With it being Halloween, the fun-sized Twix.
Oh, I know.
There's not that many calories in them because
No,
they're smaller.
They're that big.
I know.
I can eat 100 of them. I mean, the next thing I know, the bag's empty. And I'm like, well, who ate the Halloween candy?
I know it.
And you can look at Joe and see he didn't do it.
Oh,
So-
gosh. You know, like Joe lost all of his weight and gave it to me.
I know. I'm
you
like,
know?
you lost a whole person.
Yeah, I know.
I know.
Speaking of Halloween candy, my husband bought our grandson. I guess that's what you
Well,
call
there
our
you go.
godson has a 7-month-old baby, and he came home with Halloween candy, Twix and M&Ms, and I was like, "Why did you buy the candy? You never buy candy." He said, "I bought it for Tegan, for Halloween," and I went. He can't eat it. He's 7 months old. He goes, "I'm not going to be one of those grandparents that give that kid an apple or baby food." I'm like, "I'm giving him candy." He bought it for you.
Yeah, he bought it for you. He started early, though, with the tradition. So from now here on out, his godson's going to get the good stuff.
Get the good stuff.
That's right, not the
So-
Smarties. Joe likes the Smarties. I don't like the Smarties.
You don't like the Smarties?
No, I like the chocolate gooey stuff. I like the, you know, but he likes the little Smarties. And I'm like, you can have all of the Smarties.
Well, that's good for you, though. Let him have all the Smarties. You keep all the chocolate.
That's right.
How did we go from Alzheimer's to chocolate?
I don't know.
how we. Maybe
can
we
go
are
anywhere.
Hoda and Kathy Lee. I don't know.
I think you can go from anywhere to chocolate.
I
if
think you
if
can
work on
too.
it.
Well, I know we were going to kind of have a serious
Right, we
discussion,
will.
I think, at some point. But I know us going, you know, getting into the holidays, like we were saying, you know, people are going to be going to visit their parents, and they're not going to understand maybe some of the changes. And oh my gosh, what's happened to mom? What's happened to dad? You know, your dad, my dad, well, they were in Florida.
Right, they
you
were
know.
in Florida, and then they also, there's that memorization of knowing the answers to certain questions that stays for a long time.
Yeah.
And my dad would say different phrases that he had always said all throughout my lifetime, you know, means nothing to me, you know, it's all chicken but the bill. There were certain things that he said and certain annotations to that, and that he would do that, so you just felt like it was the same person. But you know, then when they start doing it inappropriately, when you say something that, you know,
It's like,
chicken,
what?
right.
I don't get
But
it.
you do they do know to say those things by rote, in a sense that
Right.
keeps everything okay, and until you start picking up on maybe that wasn't the right place.
Maybe that
to
wasn't
sit.
exactly where that was supposed to be.
Right.
You know, and not even just with cognitive issues, but physical issues. You know, there were, my dad, I'll never forget this. I called him one day and said, "Hey, Dad, how you doing?" "Well, I'm doing a whole lot better." Well, what's been wrong?
Right.
You know,
Better
I
than
learned to
what?
start asking those questions. Well, he lived on the canal in Florida and in St. Augustine. And he said, "Well, I had a little accident with the lawnmower." And I said, "Well, what happened?" He drove the lawnmower off into the canal at low tide and didn't tell me for a month. So, you know, I was still his baby girl. He didn't want to worry me, didn't want to bother me. You know, I had my life, my children, and, you know, and so that's another reason I think, you know, I think when you make a plan or when you look at what's going to go on with your parents' care, keep in mind their autonomy. They've always been independent.
Right.
That's not going to change.
No.
In their mind especially. You know, you need to you know, and understand that. You know, my dad would have never thought about moving up here and moving in with me.
Oh, no.
Never.
No.
That was not an option. So I had to respect that. we had to look at different, what are the different options for him to stay in Florida?
Right.
Do we need to look at in-home care? Do we need to look at somebody just coming to check on him every so often? Do we need to look at, somebody coming just to give him his medications on a regular basis?
And that's the one thing that people don't realize that affects their physical health, because if they do have other issues besides the dementia, whatever form that's taking, but if they do have to do some things with insulin, or if they have high blood pressure medications, things that monitor their well-being, then if they're not getting that care, then their physical as well as their, and then just drinking water, hydration.
Exactly.
If somebody gets dehydrated, that their cognitive abilities go down, and you don't realize that, and just to keep, and they'll forget to drink the water or to do that. So to put those elements, and to realize that sometimes when you're missing these smaller things, that it's making the bigger picture even worse.
Yeah, it makes the bigger picture worse. And, I read a statistic that, or not a statistic, but something that, when, elderly will respond very positively to care at first.
Right.
But as that care increases, it takes away their independence and they do worse.
Right.
So finding that balance is really hard. It's walking a very fine line.
It is, and to keep the respect and dignity there. We used to do an exercise that when I would do it in staff meeting all the time, about making a list of the 10 most important things to you in your life. They'd have to do that, and then we'd tell them, okay, now take away 3. You've got to take away 3. You can't have it anymore.
Can't have all of them.
You can't have it, and then they're like, oh man, how do you do that? So they take the superficial things away, drive it, their car, and maybe that. And then as soon as they did that, I'd say, now take another 3. You got to take another 3. And they'd be like, I can't do that, because a lot of times, their church had to be gone because they couldn't go to church any, to keep your family around, to keep your faith, to keep your spouse, to do that, you had, and so many times these people, all of that is taken away from them in one day.
In one day.
In one day, when everybody swoops in and decides, we're going to fix this for you,
Yeah.
And it's
like, but wait, that's not how I want it fixed.
That's right. That's not, that's not your call to do that. And so it's very important that you start making those or having those conversations early. My kid, I'm having it with my kids beforehand. I'm like, listen, all right, we're good today, but this is how I want it to go down later on.
Exactly. And I think us having worked in healthcare, we know to have those conversations. But it's really important to have those with your parents. I think too, people are like, well, how can I bring this up?
It's so hard.
And it is hard. But what you need to understand too is your parents' friends are going through the same things. And so when changes come about with them, maybe it's a good opportunity to say, hey, I know this happened to Mrs. So-and-so. How would you want that to happen to you? How would you want us to handle that for you? Because we're kind of, my husband and I are actually going through the same thing with his mother right now. She's had some health issues for several years, still is living alone, but is really starting to require a whole lot more care.
Right.
So, we're having to find that balance of encouraging her to do things on her own, but making sure they're safe.
Right.
Right. Yeah, she decided she has a lot of dizziness. I'll give you an example. She's quite the funny lady. I've been a very lucky girl to have such a wonderful mother-in-law. But she's had some issues within her ear and dizziness. And so the doctor recommended that she get a cane. Well, she'd been scared to drive, being so dizzy.
Right.
So it was fine. Well, they figured out that this dizziness is not something they're going to be able to fix.
Okay.
So she's going to have to live with it. So she gets the cane, and she has more balance with the cane. So she's decided she could drive her car. And I was like,
I've got a cane.
The cane's not going to help you in the car. So we can have those very honest conversations with her, but I know it's very difficult to have those conversations, with other parents. I know it's difficult.
And I think that's so wonderful about what you do, because there's just a wealth of information there, because so many times, we were talking about it before, that we always knew what type of a crisis that people were in by the way that they came to visit your facility.
Yes.
You know, if they're just scoping it out, if they've just come in and it's that week between the holidays that they've come, you know, or they've got mom here, that they brought mom from Florida, you know, to come and enjoy the holidays, and then they see that maybe she shouldn't be alone. And you start getting those little, you know, maybe appointments for a tour, you know, to come and see and what kind of options are out there. And then you have the ones that show up with the suitcase on the
I've had that happen.
Yes, that they have mom stuff and you
we're
know,
here.
and there's this big crisis situation and that it's all in, and that's not the way. Sometimes it has to be done that way.
And
we
sometimes
understand
it does.
that. I mean, sometimes it just happens that way, and there are situations that are out there that for safety reasons, medication and just not burning the house down or whatever, you have to take those steps. But it's so much better to
do it the other way.
Right, to start with information.
And, hey, Joe, if you could, I've got some slides I wanted to kind of put up slide number 9.
Well,
sorry.
Like, okay, that was
I know we're kind of out of order here. I apologize, but slide that goes with what we were talking about. You know, there are times that you have to just absolutely intervene, and I wanted you to kind of have this list and be able to look at this for some of the things that, you know, maybe it really is time to start really looking for more. You know, if they start having changes in their eating habits, if they're neglecting their personal hygiene, you know, or your home cleanliness, inappropriate behaviors. We kind of talked about that a little bit. Change in relationship patterns. You know, they used to go visit, you know, or have a really strong, you know, relationship with their children, and those are kind of changing.
And church attendance, I always see that is something that you can tell when they're just not either the ADLs that it takes to get to church, you know, just become overwhelming at times.
And they do. You know, and that's kind of the bottom one. Decrease or stop in participation in activities that were once important. You know, when you see these things, you know, it can be very scary. You know, I've had children come to me and say, Mom is not the same person she was. And you can come on back to us now, Joe, but, you know, it's just really scary when you think about all the things that can happen, you know, and what, you know, what could, you know, I got a call about my dad. He was on the side of the road in Jacksonville, had no idea why he was there, couldn't figure out how to make the car go, didn't know where he was going, you know, and a lot of that ended up being some kidney failure, some kidney issues that we were able to reverse, but not all of it.
Right.
But, you know, so it's just this whole big picture, and it's scary.
Yes, aging is, and we've all heard it for just this whole baby boomer, you know, group that's coming along now. I mean, and a lot of us, you know, you've got kids and, you know, grandkids over here, then you've got your parents over here in that stable, and our parents are living longer than they have before, and there have been so many breakthroughs in so many things that you know, that we're glad of. But in this one, the dementia realm, it is so hard to recognize sometimes because it is capable of being hidden. My grandmother did it before my dad, and then my dad did it. His just became so obvious because of his inability to articulate, and that's what he always did. He was a speaker, he was a minister, and that's what he did, so it became obvious. But in other areas that it's not that important, you can hide those things.
You can hide it. You really can. You know, so I guess I just kind of wanted to bring that out, you know, and I think another thing I want people to understand, it's okay to ask for help.
Oh, and if you're a caregiver, you got to get help.
That's
all there is to it. I mean, you cannot take that burden on yourself. If you are a spouse or a daughter or a son or whatever, and you've taken on that full-time care yourself, it is so important that you get a break.
How many times have we seen caregivers give out before the quote unquote patient, or
and has taken its toll on marriages, on just relationships with their own you know, there's just so many things that it affects, and it's so important for that to happen, and you can help that. Now, you guys, do you have respite care?
We do have respite care.
That is a wonderful area that you can help in, because I know so many people are determined, I'm not going to put mom or dad, you know, there, I'm going to do this all and be long suffering. I mean, you know, my mom did it, you know, all the rest, but I put him, you know, I demanded that Dad go to a day program, you know, a few hours a week, so that she could just think, you know, and she would just sit sometimes and come back to the condo, and she said that I would just sit on the couch for the 3 hours that he was going to be gone and just stare at it and did nothing.
Absolutely.
Because the only time that she could just even think.
It was quiet. You know, I have families that say, I just need some time to go to the grocery store. I just need time to, you know, do just normal things.
Right. I know.
Just normal things. And we do provide respite. And we have done some daycare.
Right.
And there is a local daycare.
There is.
You know, one thing I want, you know, yes, I work for two communities, you know, Wellington and Clarebridge here in Cleveland. But the one thing I love about Brookdale, our parent company, and it just, we rebranded. We started a new advertising program, and it just, it's the culture of our company that I love, because we have now become, and we always were, but we're just making it more notable now. We are a solutions company, and what we do is, if we are not your solution, I will help you find one.
Excellent.
You know, and of course, having been a social worker for so many years, right up my alley. You know, so not necessarily, you know, just because you call me doesn't mean you like have obligations to come to one of our communities or anything. You may just have questions and go, where do I need to go from here? That's what we're here for.
Right.
To help guide you through the process.
Right. And all the resources that are out there, it's amazing. And that's what we did when Dad was first, you know, diagnosed, and we knew that we had a certain period of time before the cognitive issue, before, you know, there was going to have to be some great deal of caregiving, but to see the financial support that's out there for different things, and about the home health care. I mean, how, you know, what does it have to be? And, you know, you can get a lot of those things lined up in your head, you know. I mean, you may not be in need right now, or you may just see some little things happening here or there, but if you'll go ahead and start making those phone calls and call, you know, and have a direction kind of in place, then the transition is so much easier for you and of your mom or dad or whoever it may be, or your spouse.
Or your spouse.
You know, we don't know what's down the road for us. So it's never too early to start asking those questions.
It is never too early to ask those questions. It's never too early to look at all communities. I've always said that all of our communities are wonderful, that they all have a place. We all have a different personality. You know, so start to have those conversations and kind of get an idea in your head. If you need me, call me. I don't mind that a bit. You know, I'm typically at Wellington. I don't know, I put about 3,000 miles a month on my car, if that tells you anything. But, you know, give me a call at 479-8899. That's the number at Wellington. You know, I'd be more than happy to help you find, you know, some solutions to any issues that you're having. So,
because it is. I mean, because it's a scary thing, and sometimes, you know. And you don't know where to start. I mean, I had, you know, so much typical for you and I. We were around it and worked with it so much, but when it touched our own lives, we were almost to the point of, what do I do?
What do I do?
What do I do? I mean, and we know we've been telling people what to do.
I was sitting on my front porch one night sobbing because I had been arguing with my father. And my husband looks at me and goes, what are you doing?
Right.
Don't argue with him. You know that. And I'm like, but he's my
daddy. Right.
It's different.
Right. It was so different.
It's different. So that third neutral party is often good.
Absolutely. For whoever you are, because when it touches your life and it hits you, you're going to need support and you're going to need help. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
you
nothing wrong at all.
Any other disease that you would be finding, what's the best care, what's the best treatment, you know, what's this, that, the other. I mean, anything for that. And sometimes with the dementia and because of the memory loss and that we kind of push it away, you know.
We do.
So don't do that.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Thank you so much.
I
knew she would be the perfect one to have this conversation with.
Well,
so are you Hoda or are you Kathy Lee?
I don't know. I really don't know. I'll be either one.
You can be Kathy Lee because I have the kind of the olive and the darker hair.
I can do that as long as I have a glass of wine.
There we go. It's a little early right now, but
we wouldn't do that. We promise.
No, we wouldn't. No. But I think it's about time.
It is time.
Thank you again,
You're
Kim.
welcome anytime, and I appreciate you coming and sharing what you guys do and what the Alzheimer's Association is all about. I mean, because it's something that's needed out there.
It's that passion. All right, guys, have a great day. See you next time.